Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you. It is currently 8:30 p.m. on the 30th of March 2025 here in Australia, and it's nice and cool, thank goodness. I am Sam, and this is By Hook or By Needles. And today we're going to be learning another new crochet stitch. I wish I could speak properly. Another new crochet stitch, which can be done with any number of stitches. And whoops, sorry, I'm going to get my hands around. What we're going to be doing is slip stitches, and we're alternating between doing single crochets and slip stitches, single crochets and slip stitches. So it is a 2-row repeat. You start with any number of chain you wish. You add one for height. You go into the first stitch with a single crochet. You single crochet across into every chain, Then when you come back, you slip stitch into the top of every stitch. And there's no chain here. You just slip stitch into the first stitch. I may end up putting a chain there because I like to have that little bit of room to, maneuver my hook. So we'll see when I get there what I think. And then when you come back, you need to do another chain for height, and you're going to do a stitch into each slip stitch all the way across. And this is just simply called the, and let me find what the name is, hang on. Oops, you don't keep moving around. This is called the slip stitch rib. Okay, so it is a ribbing. I thought it was, but I wasn't sure what sort of ribbing it was. Yeah, and I didn't want to show you the thing on the on-screen, the text of the book. Okay, so here we go. Everyone should be familiar by now with the symbols for slip stitches and chains, as we have been using them. And I'm going to chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, because that's what I have been doing for most of my swatches. I might even do 18. So, okay, so I'll do 18. And then we do one more for height. We turn our work and into the, hang on, I need to get a little bit closer. Okay, into our second chain from the hook. We go into our back bump with a single crochet, and we're just going to single crochet all the way across. This is not a stitch for blanket making. It is not a stitch for making wearables, except for making the cuff. Oh, that's a big stitch, isn't it? That was a very uneven stitch I just did there, chain. Okay, hopefully it won't stand out too much. And we're just going to single crochet into every back bump all the way back. This is a stitch that you would use as a ribbing because it's called the slip stitch ribbing. It's a 2-row repeat where you just do a row of single crochets and a row of slip stitches. If you really want to be in adventurous, you might want to have a look at my video recently released last month. Well, actually it was released yesterday, but this is being filmed ahead of time. This won't be released until April, this, well, I don't know, April sometime. Yeah, so you might want to have a look at the stretchiest stitch ever. It is a stitch which, sorry, can be used as a ribbing. Just going to bring this down a little bit, and then maybe I can be on screen a bit better. It can be used as a ribbing, this stretchiest stitch ever. So, but it is not for the faint-hearted, and I wouldn't class it as a beginner stitch either. Okay, now, well, we're going to go back and we're going to slip stitch all the way back. Now let's see. Now I'm going to do a chain, even though the graph did not show us to do a chain. I'm just going to do a little chain because I just want that little bit of extra maneuverability, because I just find, you know, it's not always easy to do a slip stitch in the first stitch without that chain. So that's just my added preference. You certainly don't have to do it. If you want to follow the rules, you can, you know, leave it out, but that's fine. So we're going into each of the single crochet. We're just picking up the two top loops, or the V, and we're just doing a slip stitch. But we're not going to be pulling tight. You don't want to pull too tight on this, because if you pull too tight, you're going to end up having it gather. So you just need the slip stitch to sort of be the same sort of width as the single crochet. Pick up. Oh dear. Okay. You will have to forgive me if I label something, simply because my brain isn't functioning at full capacity. Not that it ever does, but you know. And so, you know, I might call slip stitches single crochets and so on and so forth, but I hope you'll forgive any little errors like that, because, you know, A, I don't edit, and B, I wouldn't pick up the error to edit it in the first place. So, slip stitch all the way back. This is, and I have done it for hats, is a very good way of making hats vertically in the round like that. So then it is sort of flat but in the round. There's a pattern done by, I want to say Hooked by Robin, but possibly not. So that's our second row. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. I just like to always check that I've got the right number of stitches and that I haven't made an error somewhere. And then we chain one. Now you do have to do a chain one for when you're doing the single crochets. So you got to pick up that slip stitch, and that's another reason why you don't want to make your slip stitch too tight, because you're going to have to come back and do a single crochet in each one. And if you're worried about not being able to find it, it's there. So you can see the front loop only of it, because the back loop of the slip stitch is in the front. So you sort of just push through, and you know, I would turn just gently, just a little bit, just to check that you have got both of the legs of the V as you go. You do a single crochet back. You will notice that starting in April, I will be doing a lot more. There will be a little bit more routine to my tutorials. Rather than sort of just willy-nilly show you how to do stuff, you know, whenever I have decided to set specific dates, or days I should say. So every Tuesday should be crochet stitch day, and every Thursday should be knitting stitch day, because I've basically gotten the what would you call it? See, this is where I come unstuck. I'm trying to think of a word, and my brain doesn't want to find it in my head at the moment. I've got the basics. That's the word, basics. I think out of the way. So we've sort of learnt the basics for crochet and learnt the basics for knitting. So, you know, now I'm going to show you stitches that you can use. So there will be two tutorials, hopefully every week. One for crochet and one for knitting. Then, of course, on the Wednesdays, I do have my Battle of the Stitches. And sometimes you might see that the Battle of the Stitches stitch is actually the same as one of the stitches I'm actually doing a tutorial for in the in the crochet tutorial section. And that's just, you know, because I'm working from the same book. Okay, you can see it's quite pretty actually, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to do, once again, I'm going to do just a little single crochet, a little chain, I mean. And then I'm going to come back and it's time to do the slip stitches all the way across. So we're just going to do slip stitches, and I'm going to make sure to try and keep it a little bit looser. Not bigger, just looser. So that I can get my hook in there to do my single crochets. And I do like the look of this because it looks a little bit like knitting without being knitting. I don't think it's very stretchy. No, it's not a very stretchy, slip stitchy sort of thing. But if you want it to, you know, if you want something that looks like ribbing for, you know, a wearable, then you could certainly use this stitch. You could do the body of a jumper like this, but it would take you forever. Might be okay to use on smaller wearables for babies. Maybe you could do a little top, and it would look like a it would almost look like a fisherman's on this side, almost look like a fisherman's sort of rib sort of stitch, although it's obviously not. But you know, it is pretty, and it will have its uses. So I do my slip stitch and a chain. Don't forget, the chain at the end of the slip stitch row is the one you should be doing. I'm only doing a chain at the end of the single crochet stitch because I wanna because I find it easier. Okay, and we're just gonna do our single crochets again all the way back. Make sure you get both loops of the top of that stitch. And we're just doing a single crochet. And this time I did do a little bit. You can tell that my slip stitches were a little bit looser because I'm actually finding it a lot easier to get into those slip stitches to do my single crochet. Now normally what I do when I've been doing my stitches is been doing a largish square of the sample. I'm not so sure that I want to do a very large sample of this square, because it might take me a very long time. Because like I say, it's a time-consuming stitch because it will grow very slowly. But there we go. And I'm going to leave that there. I'm not going to bother doing another chain just yet. And you can see how it would look like a rib. But it does not have, it has a little bit of stretch, but not a huge amount of stretch. It has more stretch that way, widthways, but not a lot. So that is our slip stitch ribbing, I think it was called, or a single crochet slip stitch ribbing stitch. Oh, I've lost it again. I'm sorry. I'm really, I just apologize. Yeah, anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. And I'm going to go on to the next video, which I'm going to be doing for another stitch. And I just hope that as I go along, my brain starts to function. Or maybe not. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye-bye for now.